Let's check in with Temple Ashaju, who's our markets and business correspondent live from our studios at the Nigerian Stock Exchange. The stock market took a dive on Tuesday. The unlisted securities market took a dive following the market much deeper than the stock market. Temple, good morning. Getting into this conversation, wrap up yesterday's market for us in about 2 minutes.
Good morning, Bosin. Yes, the decline we saw yesterday was as a result of price depreciation on the share price of Airtel, which has now been falling consecutively. Year to date, now down to some 21%. And of course, a bit of profit taking that we saw on USA properties yesterday. Those were the two key reasons why we saw the market dipping by some 61 basis points yesterday. And year to date for the entire market now at some 12.8%. If you look at the market breadth, however, that was really positive with some 22 gainers to some 15 losers. NEM Insurance did some gains there. And of course, livestock made a comeback yesterday. If you look at the activity level, things were not too good. It was down by 27% to 198 million units of shares traded yesterday. But generally, the market still has some good buy sentiment because, again, if you look at the performance of the companies or equities that you have put under the NSE 30, they're looking very, very good. If you look at the NSE 30 yesterday was up by some 30 basis points. Going by the sectoral performance, the banking sector was down yesterday. You got the consumer goods side of the market up yesterday. Industrial goods was good, was up by some 57 basis points. You got CNN buying yesterday. And of course, our insurance segment of the markets, this is the second consecutive session of gains that we're seeing on NEM Insurance, and the fact that it looks like the rights issue is coming up now, that gave some rise to the sector. Oil and gas remained unchanged in spite of some gains that we saw around Japol, and of course Capital Oil, which then declined by some 6.06%. For the NASD OTC, we saw a whopping total of 68,329 units yesterday sold on that side of, or traded on that side of the market. But that was a decline of some 90% compared to what they did the previous trading session. You got NIPCO PLC doing 64,000 of the entire volume of transaction that we had there yesterday, and a bit of 3 trades on Trust Mortgage Bank, which is now being acquired by First Mortgage. For the fixed income side of the market, bonds remain positive. You got 39 deals on that side of the market yesterday. We saw yields movement across the major ends of the curve there. You got the longer end of the curve experiencing some 11 billion naira, and now yesterday was priced at 111 naira 80 but having seen some 14 basis points decline in the yields curve yesterday. For the treasury bill side of things, you got that market been mixed yesterday. Activity was basically focused at the short end of the curve. If you see the 24th of October 2019 security discounted at 12.15% yesterday, Wilson.
Thank you so much, Temple. We'll get back to you in about 40 minutes from now on the show. Just give us a sense of the opening calls for today, what the market is talking about. Let's take a break, everyone. We're right back in about 2 minutes. So the Central Bank of Nigeria has revised forward from Monday and Tuesday next week, the Monetary Policy Committee meeting for September, the second to the last in the year, to Thursday and Friday this week, 19th and 20th, and that came overnight. Quite a very interesting change of date today. There was no reason provided by the central bank for the change in dates. So, but let's just put all of this together. Of course, inflation came in yesterday a bit softer than expected, 11.02%. That's what it printed on a year-on-year basis, and on a month-on-month basis, that came in a bit about 0.99%. Food index was better. Cost hub index was also better on a year-on-year basis. So how does all of this put together? What does it pile up on the market stage? Let's talk to Ajibola Ero Phillips, who's the head of FX trading at FBN Quest Merchant Bank. Live to us via Skype from FMDQ Exchange Place. Good morning, Ajibola. It's good to see you in the new week.
Good morning, boss, and how are you?
Great. I'm good. I'm good. I'm just watching your market and trying to get a sense of how yesterday's inflation, the outlook on the MPC, impact the yield curve. Then perhaps later you can find some time to squeeze in some currency stories or playbook into it.
Okay, so like you rightly mentioned, inflation came down slightly. What we would have expected from the MPC is maybe it's time to start easing off rates. But again, I think the central bank would have their eyes on the exchange rate, and I'm not sure they just want to do that just yet. So they need to be cautious and see how far this goes. For the market specifically, all the play has really been in the treasury bills market, as we've seen a slight uptick in yield, in terms of all of the things that's going around. But there was a little bit of yields went down slightly yesterday because there was some bit of buying pressure, really around the mid to the short end of the curve. The bonds market has really witnessed a lot of apathy. Not much has been happening in the market, but yesterday when the auction calendar was released and it showed that there was a bit of more was on offer, about 5 billion more was on offer at the next auction, which takes place next week. We saw a bit of sell-off in that market. People thinking, okay, maybe CBN or the federal government wants to raise more money, and then maybe yields might be slightly higher. Nothing so sporadic. It was just a bit of a sell-off. So for the FX market has really been stable. We've seen that rates have come down slightly. We're still trading around the 361.15 to 362 range. Market is still a bit very tapered in terms of it's really, really soft, going by all of the things going on around the one, and some of the capital flight by FPI that really slowed down. So that has really helped rates to stay around those levels.
I'm sure you folks in the banks will be dealing with a number of with this raft of circulars and what have you from the central bank regarding deposits, withdrawals, and on all of that, and what all this means for liquidity at the marketplace. What is the exchange rate at the moment, and are there any window?
The high window really has been around the 362 level, between 361.5 and 362 level. It's really, really soft. As you are aware, there was a bit of capital flight by FPIs, and that really drove rates, way higher. But again, with a lot of interventions by CBN and some of the uptick in yields in the fixed income market, we saw that some flows came back our way. Not as much as we would like, or that the central bank would like. I'm sure everybody would really like us to go back to the 360 or below 360 level. But again, all of the things going on globally, is making that a bit of a long stretch to achieve at the moment. So FX markets is really, really been stable. On Monday, the turnover was really, really low, but then we went back to regular scheduled program. By yesterday, we had about 157 million in turnover, and the rate was between 361.15, 361.5 and 363 range.
I'm sure you're watching not just central bank monetary policy meeting, which will now be a Thursday and Friday, tomorrow and Friday. I'm sure you're watching a few others around the world. South Africa's SARB will be taking decisions tomorrow. Today we have the Fed, then we have the Bank of Japan, we have the Bank of India, then we have the Bank of England. So this is the week, also next week. Then we have a few other central banks deciding. Do you think we have a perfect environment for the Central Bank of Nigeria to consider rate cuts?
Yeah, you would think they would, especially because of as inflation has really, really eased, and most central banks are trying to ease off rates because of the fear of the global recession. But again, our market is really, really soft right now, especially with keeping an eye on the exchange rate. The central bank needs to attract as much, foreign inflows to help keep those exchange rates down. So I'm not sure at the moment this is the best time for them to, to really, really lower rates. Again, all of the things going on with the LDR, the banks trying to, stay afloat, in terms of their deposit to loan ratio. So central bank would be looking at all of that, and I don't expect a rate cut in the immediate time. They need to see how far inflation goes, because at least CBN has not achieved the target that they really, really want, not just yet. So they really need to see how far this goes. And with that firm eye on the exchange rate, still slightly higher than where the central bank would really like it to be. I expect that things will stay, as it is right now. Maybe with the coming of the new team, the new advisory team, maybe we'll begin to see a lot more from the fiscal side, and that could help the central bank in the very long term.
Very interesting. That final part of your comment with the new Economic Advisory Council, maybe we'll see more on the fiscal side to balance what the financial regulator the central bank is doing. Thank you so much, Ajibola Aero Phillips. We appreciate your time on the show today. Okay, so let's bring in Temple Ashaju here for the second time and the final time on the show to give us a sense of how today's trading day is teeing off on the Nigerian Stock Exchange. Live to us from the NSE trading floor. What's it looking like, Temple? Is it a green, is it a red, or is it amber, which says, hold on a second, we're trying to find a direction?
Well, it's a green again, Bosin, even though we know some 10, 15 minutes ago it was in red. But also we've seen some recovery with some mild gains at this point, because earlier we saw the banking names really deepening. Some profits taken on the likes of First Bank, FBN Holdings, some 5.5% decline on that particular counter earlier. Now took it down from 5 naira 45 kobo to 5 naira 15 kobo. Recall that this is a stock that has been trading around 4 naira 75 kobo for some time. Between last week and today, Wednesday, it actually, or between last week and Tuesday, it actually shot up to 5 naira 45 kobo. So this is an opportunity for some investors to rake in some gains again. We saw the same thing on the counters of FCMB, Dangote Flour, and of course a couple of other names there. But some 5 minutes ago, 5 to 10 minutes ago, we then saw some kind of a U-turn in the direction of the all-share index. We saw Access Bank, which was also among those that were losing earlier, also experiencing some profit taking, making some kind of gains. This is one company that some investors had actually taken position in when it was trading around 5 to 6 naira a few weeks ago. Now it has crossed 7 naira, so you should expect investors to also want to take some profits on it. But it's now back up. We're seeing it getting some 1.18% now. That's Access Bank, and of course it's contributing to the gains that we now have on the key benchmark indices of the exchange. We see Guarantee Trust Bank also making some gains. It's up to 29 naira now. We see Zenith Bank also experiencing some comeback at this point, Wilson.
Yes, Tempo, thank you so much for that. Keep an eye on MTN Nigeria Communications on the trading board for today. The company has issued a statement late yesterday, of course, and the stock exchange says they're aware of media reports that the company is planning 100 billion naira commercial papers, and says that, as they said in their listing by introduction memorandum, that they will continue to look for every options, financing options, but not limited to issuance of commercial papers. This is just about a 4-paragraph statement from MTN saying that in line with this, MTN Nigeria is currently exploring financing options, including the issuance of commercial papers, and will announce any material developments via the exchange. So that is there. Keep an eye on how the market is looking at this news that is just out there. The company has not formally announced that. That's what this press statement is all about. But they are aware that, of course, the cat is already out of the bag. The company said, look, we said we're going to do commercial papers as one of our financing options, but we'll let everyone know formally through the stock exchange where it is now listed. Keep an eye on that for us, Tempo. Thank you so much. Have a great day, the stock exchange. And we say thank you to our viewers here in Nigeria and around the world. I'll see you again tomorrow. Thank you so much.